The aim of this webinar is to share with you our findings and conclusions from the research we've conducted around the IFS 8 upgrade, and also to share with you honest and practical experience of Churchill China, which Alistair will touch on. The webinar will be broken down into two parts. I will take the first part and focus on the research, and Alistair will do the case study. A little bit of housekeeping. There is a detailed report which will be produced. So what we are going to be presenting in this session is the headlines, the headline news from the survey. I have put everybody on mute so that we can actually have got a clear presentation. Any questions, we will leave them to the end of the session. We'll spend a few minutes at the end to answer any questions. If there are questions you have, I suggest you actually write them in the chat, and then we will actually capture them and answer them later on, just because of the number of people on the conference. And obviously, if there are any very specific questions to your organization you want us to take and deal with, we can do that offline. And if you write to us on info@amelconsulting.com, we will deal with them offline. A quick introduction. My name is Fouad Boras. I'm Managing Director of Amel Consulting. I am also a delivery manager of IFS. I've been working with IFS since 2005. And prior to that, I was a management consultant in the ERP technology at PwC and Deloitte. And previous to that, I was a software developer for about a number of years. Regarding Amel Consulting, very briefly, you can go to our website and see what we do and who we are. But fundamentally, we are a business consulting around the IFS area, based in the UK, and we provide a number of services, management consultancy services, but also remote e-helpdesk services, technical data, and functional. Again, you can go to the website and get a little bit more information about what we do. If we just get on straight to the research, the aim of the research was to understand where the market is at the moment with regard to IFS 8, where the customers are with their thinking, which people have upgraded, which have not, why, what's the drivers, and obviously we want to tease out the key headlines and try to shape where the market is going and actually obviously to move and support our customers with that. We had 45 customers taking part in this particular research, and they come from quite a different background. There is a mix, small sites with 20-30 users to 3,000-4,000 users. And many of the organization, over 60% of them, have been using IFS for over 6 years. And we've had quite a wide range of module use. And many of the respondents, about 86% of them, are actually daily or hourly user of IFS. So they are hands-on type of managers or key users. What are the main findings? What are the main headlines? There is about 27% of organization already upgraded. That's obviously from the 45 companies that have taken part in this research. And 27% are currently upgrading, and 46% have not yet upgraded. So there is quite a 50-50 almost of who's upgrading and who isn't. So let's take each category and just look at the headlines from each category. First of all, the organization that have already upgraded, interesting that 75% are doing a technical type upgrade. That's like for like, moving actually the Oracle database and potentially the infrastructure to match IFS IFS 8's requirements. But there is no major business process redesign or large implementations of modules. 25% of them have done re-implementation. The key drivers, new functionality, and that's obviously clear in terms of distribution and project management and so on. but also the reduction of customizations. Some of the organizations, they have 100 and 200 customizations. This is really going to be a very beneficial to them with the custom field functionality. The length of the upgrade varies. There are 33% who over a year, but also there are a number who between 5 and 8 months. So you could say that from 5 months to a year is where actually the upgrade life cycle fits in, at least with the people who have already upgraded. Go live, 75% claim that they have gone live on time as planned. And the main issues that have been highlighted, no surprise, is that documentation is absolutely key in building your upgrade. So from a business process point of view, whether actually there is a configuration cookbook or there are profile and security setting documentation, in terms of also customization, whether actually the key personnel are still there that can actually help you redesign some of these modifications. And the other message really is about resources. Obviously the business as usual needs to still carry on, but the pull on the IT and the business resources is still high. And this is really also being a headline from the issues when doing an upgrade. In terms of the user perception of the apps 8 from these organizations, that 83% are pleased or satisfied with the new functionality and navigation of apps 8. And anybody who have seen and worked with apps 8, you can see that the look and feel, the navigation, and some of the intuitive web browser actually does help the usability of it. What are the main lessons of these organizations who have upgraded? Engaging key users early, working closely with the vendor. This is as much as a technical upgrade as a functional upgrade, because there will be iterations and there is a lot of technical aspect that needs to be done properly and through a methodology, and IFS have to go through this process with you, and this is why the involvement of IFS and engagement is going to be critical during this upgrade. And obviously goes without saying a senior sponsorship. In terms of organizations that are currently upgrading, so these are organizations who are actually in the middle of their projects. Again, it's interesting that 67% of them are still doing it from a technical point of view. And the business case has been seen as to be essential in justifying the program or the project. The drive is still the same, performance and reliability, end users, and obviously a new functionality. In terms of where they are at the moment with the upgrade project, 33% are in the build stage, 33% are in the testing stage, and few of them are near go live and few at the beginning. So there is quite a spread there really in terms of where they are with their upgrade. They think that they will be going live between 1 and 4 months. That's very optimistic, but at least that's what their current plans are. 42% think between 5 and 8 months. That's more realistic, and few of them actually have got a little bit longer timelines, and that could be because of number of modules and customization complexity and so on. So these estimates obviously come from a number of factors. Confidence in going live on time is reasonably high, and in terms of perceived risks to the upgrade, end users buy-in is something that is worrying these guys, but also the successful reduction of the customization. In terms of the current users, it seems that there is a reasonable satisfaction of what they're doing at the moment with whatever version they have, 7 or 7.5. Just moving quickly to the organization that have not upgraded, 46%, that's about 21 of the 45. We asked them when are they planning to upgrade, and 29% of them is going to be next year, and then you obviously have got a spread there in 2016 and 17, and 19% is about 3 or so company, 4 companies says they will never upgrade, and there is always a reason for that. Potentially IFS might not be the right fit for them in the future. It might actually be the cost and the justification, or it might be that they're already, they're already working on a new version, 7.5 SP6 as an example, and they are trying to embed it and stabilize it before they're thinking about an upgrade maybe in several years' time, rather than in the next 1 or 2 years. The main reasons preventing them from upgrading: priorities. Many of the businesses have got other initiatives and the upgrade is not a top priority, and there is no clear business justification for the upgrade. The main drivers why they would upgrade: reduction of customization, which is a reduction in costs and complexity of maintenance, and obviously leveraging a new functionality, and improving also user buy-in, as in the new functionality as well as the usability is going to be improved. We've asked them about management expectations for a business case. 52% said yes, they will need it. We asked them about the organization, if they have the required skills and capability. Only 38% says yes. Some said no, and obviously some people did not answer the question. Does the organization have the business and IT resources for upgrade? Again, only 43%, no, 43%, and yes, 24%. So as you can see, resources and skills, especially if the original team who've implemented have moved on, it becomes really quite an issue. Okay, these are the headlines of the survey, and now I will hand over to Alistair to take us through the case study. So Alistair, if you bear with me just for a couple of minutes, let me just transfer to you.
Thank you, Fuad, and good morning. My name is Alistair Henderson. I'm the head of IT at Churchill China, but I'm also the technical lead in the business, and was part of the 7.5 apps and App 8 implementation. I've worked for Churchill for 21 years in various roles, so I have a good knowledge of the business and the IT systems. Right, we're going to touch briefly on Churchill China and our needs to upgrade, but the focus of the next 20 minutes will be on the technical issues that you will face, or certainly Churchill China faced when trying to put in Apps 8. Apologies if some of it gets a little technical, but all I can say is take it back to your IT teams or your implementation teams, and it will make their lives easier. It's something I do promise. And we have some technical issues again with the presentation. Could you just flick to the next slide, please, Vanessa? Thank you.
Give you the content.
Okay, a little bit about Churchill China. 43 million plus turnover, 2 divisions supplying the hospitality and retail. Based in Stoke-on-Trent, England, an office and distribution centre in North America, 550 employees, and a worldwide sales force. IFS footprint, 130 users, and the majority of the big modules in IFS. The one that is missing is manufacturing. We're going to be looking at doing that something like 2016, 2017, just to get us in. Could you just flip the slide for me, please, guys?
We handed over the control to you, Alistair.
No, sorry.
Okay, yeah, let's just try again so that you don't have to tell.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Hey, technology, who needs it? Okay, the need for the upgrade. We operate a 24/7 system at Churchill. We deliver pretty much every single day of the week, and we put in new hardware when we implemented 7.5. That hardware was 6 years old, and Oracle 10G out of support now, Windows 2003 certainly out of support, and the Red Hat operating system that ran Oracle again out of support. So there was a need for a hardware refresh in the business. In addition to this, we wanted to move our desktop environment from 2003 terminal servers to the latest from Microsoft, and 7.5 does not support the newer Microsoft operating system. So something just to be aware of as your desktop operating system becomes aged as well. So it was decided that we'll roll the upgrade and IFS into the same year, and it was also a conscious effort to ensure that we weren't too far behind the IFS point releases or full releases. So we did. This was kind of the main motivator for us to move it, and we were not too bad a bill, but we were on a £10,000 additional maintenance due to modifications, and the interface was not particularly loved by our users, and they did prefer the look of the new interface. The upgrade process, the timelines, we had 2 months obviously to get our new hardware in and everything like that, but from what IFS call iteration 0 to go live was 6 months. In terms of actual effort, from iteration 1 to go live, that was 15 weeks. We managed to get this in on such a tight timescale due to the fact that we still had all our process documentation and our procedures from our 7.5 upgrade, and I'll talk a little bit more about that area later on. Okay, some of the main issues faced during the upgrade, and again, apologies if this goes into a little bit too much technical, but again, just take some key points from it, please. Some of the good things and some of the things that will make it easier for your implementation is that the navigation is very, very similar, so your users won't have this sudden shock to a new system. There are some different terminologies, and certainly the overview screens, and the selection is a little different. So there is some training to be given, but it's certainly not the same amount of training if you were rolling this out from brand new. Some things to just be careful of, that is the client speed. This can be a little hit and miss. It appears to be a lot of caching, so as the day goes on, the client can get faster, but it is quite resource intensive, so just be a little careful when you're specking up desktop equipment or servers for your users. Excuse me. I've personally seen an IFS session reach 2 GB for one person, so again, just be careful when specking resources. Some areas to be careful of, and certainly as soon as you get hold of IFS App8 iteration 1, make sure you look at these areas. The supplier analysis screen is particularly slow. IFS does have a patch release for that, but I don't know if it would be included in your build when you get it. Some overview screens can be particularly slow. Again, IFS can fix some of that. And RTI, which is a requirement for the UK, you're okay with. 2 areas that you will find challenging is the stop button does not work. That will drive your users insane, and your help desk and support desk will get a lot of calls about that, I can guarantee it. And the IFS client hangs as well. That you'll get at least 2 or 3 calls a day, depending on your user base, about clients hanging and sessions having to be disconnected. Again, just be prepared to enhance your support base because you will get those issues. One area where you really have to start, and almost you can pre-start it before taking App8, is the security of your system. It's no longer in multiple executables, so at least you had some separation of access. It is all one executable now, therefore you have to tie your data down very tightly with permission sets and security. All I can say there is start as early as you can and get that right, because your security testing is just as important as your procedure and process testing. We had this done externally to get speed, and for 130 users that we used 240 hours or man hours worth of consultancy time getting that done. So just something to be aware. So on a very technical side, I'm sorry to say, the extended server will catch you out, particularly when you start changing permission sets, changing bits and pieces in IFS, because of something called server cache. It caught us out for probably the first four or 5 weeks, and it still catches us out now, to be honest. It is quite annoying. You make a change, something doesn't work, and you're not quite sure why. It is just the server cache. Just something to be particularly aware of. Okay, for the users of Crystal Reports, I'm afraid I have some quite bad news for you. Crystal Reports in App 8 is shocking. All I can say is, if you can, don't use it. Find a different solution to getting data out of IFS. If you do have to use it, just some things to bear in mind. The conversion of your IALs can be problematic. In order for it to fit into the new security model that is required. If you use cascading parameters or dynamic lists, again, you'll, well, it just doesn't work. It has been deprecated. And possibly the worst element of the new Crystal Reports is it is extremely slow. It's one of the biggest things where our users have complained to us, to be honest. So all I can say is, if you do have to use it, start very early on in your iteration to get the IALs done, and you will have to redesign some of your Crystal Reports. It is guaranteed. Okay, business document printing has always been an issue in 7.5 and below. This is printing sales invoices, etc. We use Crystal Reports in 7.5. We've moved away from that, and we use something quite useful in IFS, which is an XML creator now, completely seamless, built in, and we've used a third-party product to manipulate the XML and put a layout on top of it. Very affordable, very versatile, and one of the great things is you don't need an IFS modification if you need additional data to appear on your form. It can all be done with IALs and standard IFS functionality. So it has got a lot better if you just think slightly out of the box. For those of you, I don't think this applies to the guys in the States, but if you use IFS RF, it's no longer useful in Apps 8. If you do need a good RF product, I would recommend Cedar Bay. It works seamlessly with older versions of IFS and Apps 8, so it's a good thing, good product to put in. And one thing to bear in mind is our 15-week implementation did not include our RF check move. We did that last year and just ported it over when we upgraded. Again, if you use time and attendance, please be aware that you probably can't take the very latest version of IFS. Time and attendance module is only supported up to SP1. IFS are backporting a lot of the foundation stuff from SP2 into SP1, but again, just be mindful of that and ask your IFS account managers the details around that. Okay, coming on to custom fields, which is one of the biggest selling points of IFS, and absolutely an amazing piece of functionality, and when they work, they are brilliant. Just be careful. As soon as you get your first iteration, test the custom fields. Even on the first day, I would suggest. It didn't work for us. We had to wait 4 weeks for a patch from IFS. It ate into our project time quite significantly. And I'll just reiterate it, just test it to start with. Just so you don't get the same experience we had. There is a known bug. You can't include custom fields in IALs. There is a workaround. It's a simple workaround as well, as long as you've got a little DBA skill. Not overly complicated, to be honest. Okay, summarising a little bit. Extended servers. These will be horrendously slow to patch as IFS release patches to you. It can take anything from 1.5 hours to 3 hours to patch and bring it up to a certain level. Just be mindful of that, especially when you go live in an environment. You will not have IFS for 3 hours sometime in the upgrade path. So again, just be mindful, please. In terms of installation, if you read the documentation, it should be able to be installed on Red Hat 6.5. IFS could not get it to work on Linux. It is supposed to work on 2012 server. Again, I suspect they will have difficulty, but I can guarantee it does work on 2008 or 264-bit. But again, just be mindful, especially if you prefer Linux. There are some challenges by the looks of it. Going forward, certainly for your support desk, and something IFS certainly won't tell you, the log file creation on the extended servers is ridiculous. You will get multiple gigabytes of logs created. I've seen, well, it generates something like 15 gig of log files in a month. So again, just be careful. We're in the process of writing some tidy up scripts, which we will release to the general IFS community if you want them, just so you don't get the same issues that we've had. Okay, just coming on to the main tips, reiterating a few things Phil has already said. I would definitely document your procedures now, even if you only thinking about upgrading to IFS next year. Get them done now. Get them in place. We found that people lie. It's true. The process work in a parrot fashion. They don't actually know what they're doing, but they know if you enter details in a field and press save or whatever, that's their job. Trying to get them then to test App 8 was quite difficult. Unless you've got those procedures, you will find it hard. One of the other things is, as soon as the new system went in, people were doing very silly things, and it was only because there was a new system in place. Again, you can always go back to the procedures and validate it. All I can say is test, and keep testing right up until the very last day where you have to cut over. We tested through all 3 of our iterations, and we still had a few niggles when we went live. That's it for me, and I'll pass you over to Phil for conclusions.
Okay, thank you very much, Alistair. Yeah, there are 3 key messages, I suppose. There are a lot more, but I think the key ones to take away. First of all, that the business case justification for Apps 8, it has been proven so far that over 80% are doing it on the back of technical reasons. Oracle supportability, hardware performance, and it sounds like many organizations are finding it really hard to look at staff efficiency or process improvement and try to quantify the numbers and go back to their management and justify that through efficiencies and savings. Customization is one area where actually many of the justification has been built around, especially if a company has 1 to 100 customizations. It's very clear that the maintenance costs as well as actually the complexity can be reduced. The third key message is regarding the functionality. As you've seen from the people who have already upgraded, something like 84% of the end users are really pleased with the functionality and with the look and feel and the navigation and the intuitive aspect of the application. But as Alistair highlighted, there are a number of technical considerations, challenges. None of them is a showstopper, but you need to factor that into your plans, whether it's crystal reports, whether it's to do with the security profile, solution manager kind of setup. So these things do take time, especially if you have a lot of users and you have a lot of reports. So these are our main conclusion. As I said before, we will do a detailed report from these findings, and we will share it with the people who are interested. So now we can go to a question and answer session to see if there are any specific questions that you might want to raise with ourselves at this stage. Let me unmute, see if we... Okay, any particular questions?
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So for an update install, first question, how much of that can be done remotely? And secondly, businesses at a junction of an older install on IFS and unsure whether the stage we are, albeit desported, upgrade to update or even replace with an alternative ERP software. Is that something that you could help with?
Okay, there is a bit of an echo, so let me just mute everyone. If I understood the question correctly, I think there are two parts to it. The first one is regarding how much of the upgrade can be done remotely and how much of it actually is on-site expertise and activities. And the second question is to do with the people's stage in the decision process. What should they do? Upgrade, stay as they are, or replace? I think that's possibly the two parts. Alistair mentioned that there are a number of upgrade activities such as the security, user profiles, and the solution manager aspects of IFS. And the other area I can think of is reports. I would say that possibly there is an element of analysis, assessing the user rights and the profile access, and looking at the accountancy rules regarding who should have access to what, whether somebody who is doing purchasing requisition will be able to actually authorize a purchase order, will be able to three-way match an invoice. All of these things need to be actually looked at and decided on who has access to what data. That can be done possibly 1 or 2 days on site. And to be fair, you could actually basically, if that documented, you use that as the basis, but many organizations don't have up-to-date documentation as has been highlighted by the research. So you would say 80–90% can be done remotely. So as long as you understand the matrix of the users and who has access to what screen or function, then you could actually basically give that to a consultant remotely or an expertise remotely who can actually set this up and test it and then hand it over to the key users to test on site before they go live. And the other area is reports, as Alistair has been mentioning. If you decide you're still keeping crystal reports, for example, there is a lot of conversion you need to do to meet the new security model, but also the way your reports are going to run, and the effectiveness and the speed of their performance. But also there is an element of assessment. Are these reports are still needed? As Alistair said, I think there is 140 and they are down to 80. So there is an element of you rationalizing and using the opportunity to really think about what are the reports worth investing the time and money in. Because if it's going to cost you money, I think it's worthwhile asking the value of converting it. There is also, I would say, the key users. Every organization, there are a number of key users, and educating them about AppState, bringing them up to speed, getting the management engaged. There are a number of sessions that you could do, and you don't need people on site. I think this is a bit like an e-learning, much more specific sessions for quality control, engineering, production, manufacturing, and so on. And you could do AppState specific sessions. You agree the agenda, and then you deliver them on multiple times. So this hopefully answers your question regarding the first part. The second part, which is an interesting one, because many organizations, I think the people who have not upgraded, possibly they are in this position, which is what should I do now? Should I upgrade? And what's the justification for that? The second part is, should I stay where I am for a number of years? And the other part is, should I replace? There are few organizations possibly who may be thinking IFS is not the right software for them. The business model has changed. The system has been implemented 5-10 years ago, and the business has changed, and therefore maybe at a junction where they're thinking there might be a best of breed solution out there, something that they can actually fit the business better, and rather than spending $500,000 on upgrading, they would rather actually basically spend it on re-implementing a new system. So I've met and talked to a few organizations who possibly they are in that mindset. But also there is the majority who are thinking maybe it's an opportunity to re-implement, refresh, re-implement, and actually use the licenses as part of the support, that they're going to get a new, fresh software, and engage the sponsors and the management to re-implement. My view is that I think these organizations, what they need is a quick ERP strategy for the next 3 to 5 years. So as a very brief exercise that enables them to assess the options and develop a roadmap and decide which way to go. And based on the criteria where they are, they can actually decide whether they should replace, upgrade, or stay where they are. Hopefully this gives you a little bit of flavor, but we can pick it offline if you need more information. Okay. Any other questions? You can send them on the chat if you like. If there is too much echo. Alternatively, you can write to us and we'll respond to your questions within the next few days. So it's up to you. Okay. There doesn't seem to be any questions at this stage. Can I suggest we close the session? And I want to thank you for taking the time and joining us, and have a great weekend. And we will share with you, as Alistair said, any information. And if you need any further help or information, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Play now the recording. Let's see.